a premier portrait artist. But she'll have to tell you on her journey. She came to be here and take it away. You want to start?
Take it away, Julie.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on a special night because the president's going to be battling with what's his name?
No politics. You forgot his name already?
Yeah, well, yeah. Right now I'm forgetting everything except I wanted to thank you very much for having me here because this has been such a wonderful opportunity to kind of look back at my life and my work, and it's really been fun. And this is only a very small part of it. I begin to realize I'm looking through this stuff, and I've thrown out stuff too.
Don't tell me that.
But, huh?
Don't tell me that.
What?
Now that you threw things out, your stuff is so great. I mean, that's
Yeah,
great.
no, I did. I threw some things out. You know, everybody. Not everything I've done is good, and I think even with drawing classes are typical. You go in there and your mind isn't into what you're doing, and you get started, and you get kind of feel clumsy, and then you get going, and maybe you get one piece out of there that's it works like you want it to, you know? So I don't have a lot of drawing pads and stuff, a lot of drawing classes. So this has really been fun, and again, like I said, I want to thank you for the opportunity. And I want to start at the beginning. And the beginning was when I was 6. I think I drew a little bird, and I showed it to my mother, and I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty good. I showed it to my mother. And I think through grade school and everything, I always kind of wanted to be an artist. And it was my way of getting attention, because I really didn't get a lot of attention. I mean, with 4 kids, they had problems, there was a lot going on. But that was my way of getting attention.
And you spoke only when you were spoken to.
Oh, no, not me.
They made it in Norwegian, but...
It was my way of, you know, kind of feeling like I had something special.
Yeah.
Above and beyond, you know, good looks and all that other stuff. So, I guess, I never had lessons. I wanted to have lessons, but I never had lessons. But my grandmother was very good. I was with my grandmother most of the time. And I used to copy when I was like in 5th and 6th grade. I used to copy from magazines. They had the Daily Mirror, and I think they used to have photographs, and I would copy that once in a while. I didn't spend my whole life drawing, but I kept at it every once in a while. And then while I got to junior high school, I figured I wanted to be an artist. And I'll skip ahead in high school, and I failed miserably in my tests, but I did very well with my artwork. Until then I managed to get knocked up and get married. My life, you might say, sometimes is a mess, but when I look back at it now, it wasn't a bad life at all. I had grandparents who loved me very much. My grandmother used to let me paint all the windows. She had a porch next to the Lutheran church, and I painted every window one Christmas. Oh, nice. And I even painted on the piano. And up the stairs on the wood. She never complained. And that was my way of, you know, showing. I don't know what I did. I just loved doing it, and there was some sort of attention.
Were you living in Long Island at this time?
Yeah, Oceanside. I grew up in Oceanside, yeah. So I had wanted to be an artist. So when I married Bill and we had a child, I always did things that were artistic. And I think by the time I was 19 or 21, after doing bowling at nights, I said, I want to really study. I want to go to college. I want to do something. So there was an artist sketchbook club in Lindenhurst, and I joined that, and we used to draw from life. And I did that, and I met a couple of people, though, that studied with a teacher in C.W. Post, Harry Stur. And he lived up in, I guess around Port Washington.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so this is what you like. Jerry was saying he likes my colors. Okay, so when I started studying with Harry, one night a week, and that was my first new drawing classes with him. He taught at the Art Students League. Okay, so this is Harry's book. He put out 3 books, and in those days, Reeves up there was there, and his books were on sale. Reeves, he put out 3 books, one on woodcut, one on composition, and One of the Many Ways of Seeing. And this is a brochure I had gotten. He showed at the ACA at Manhattan. One of the things I was very particular about was who I was studied with. But being that I knew these people, I knew he was good. So he started with a lot of color. So that's what these are. These are some of the things I had left over.
Put it on the easel.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Carol. So this is only some of it. I did draw it. But you see, the subject matter was always pushed personal. He wanted us to express personal, what we were into. I drew I think one of my first drawings was an ironing board with all the kids' toys. Yeah, and he really praised me, and he was like a father figure to me. But I think I might even go back to this because of the simplicity and awareness of shape and form and composition, which is very important in painting. And that's what he encouraged. Like, I always buy this because this is Picasso's bulls. We start with Picasso with a more realistic bull, and go up to the simplest interpretation. This is abstract.
Oh.
Okay.
He went from the left to the top?
It's
I
like,
would have thought he would have come the other direction.
Yeah, this doesn't look quite as realistic. This looks more realistic, but really it kind of
it's
Wow.
like stages, right? Stages.
stages of abstract. And
Right.
I was telling somebody about Cubism the other day. So it took me a long time to understand Picasso, but at least it helped. That one up there, you can see this is crayons. And that's how he would have us also doing exercises where you take squares of color, which is like Ed Reinhardt, and study the chroma and the value and the intensity, which I still don't quite totally understand to this day, of what happens with color relationships. So I think I had a good foundation with him when I was very young. He also goosed me. Yeah. He lived to be 96, and they had a kind of a thing at the Art Students League, and Will Barnett was there, and they had this big painting, and he definitely was a tremendous colorist. And I got up and I spoke about it because I loved him so much. And I did mention about how he used me in class. So stretchy. Those days. I was 22 years old. And everybody laughed, which was fun. Anyway, Harry was a terrific foundation.
Yeah.
So after he left to go to California, and then for a while I kind of just did my own thing, and then I wanted to go back. I think after that I went to study with Leo Mansell. There was no more Harry Stur around, so I went on the North Shore, and I studied with Leo Mansell, and I studied abstract art. Because that was in a lot of colleges and universities. I studied abstract art. Oh, and by the way, during this time when I needed to make money, I painted murals. Ceilings, I was getting desperate for money. All sorts of murals I painted. Sometimes I started out very cheap.
You can draw, you can do anything.
Yeah. When you want to survive, you could do a lot of things too. But when I was studying with Leo, I fell in love with a lot of this stuff. Even my photography. This is my photography. This is all winter. I love winter. These are some of my photographs. I did this little painting outside my window. This is that's not my work, but it's a contemporary artist. This piece shows. I have books full of sketches, and this one's a little more literal. And this one, these are all my own inventions. This guy's name is Winter. So I still enjoy looking at them. Nothing ever much came from it. I never made any major paintings. But it kind of gets into my work, even that it's realistic. You know, the way I kind of move my hand, as you can see these new pieces that I'm doing are more expressive. This one of these is my latest pieces. You can see some of the abstraction is there, and I'm kind of torn between realism, which this I did after those teachers, And I joined a couple of classes in Baldwin. This was out at
That looks like
Anna
Tom,
Klein.
that looks like Tom Pepper's wife.
Yeah?
It does. It's like, it could be Alan. It really could.
We had models
It does.
and all, and then there were some very good artists. Diana DeSantis was there. We all worked from the model. We'd drive out to Baldwin and work there in a barn or something, and these artists getting together. So that was one of the pieces I did then. That was, well, I'll tell you this. After I went with Leo, I had to go to work because we weren't had enough money to live on. You know, everybody has to earn a living. So then I decided to try my hand at making a living. At first I thought I'd be a technical illustrator or anything. And I ended up saying, okay, I'll try the art shows. I was terrified. Terrified. I think I ran away the first time, got hysterical, called a friend, and finally calmed down, went back. But it was scary for me. And so, I don't know if I brought anything in. Oh, well, this is one of the pieces I did while I was working at the wall, which is as realistic as I could get.
Wow.
I never wanted things to look photographic. I always wanted them to look realistic, but not photographic. So that's just one piece. I have a lot of pieces. Some of those pieces I entered into competition later, and some of them won awards. Never entered that one though. Anyhow, I did that for 30 years. I worked at South Shore Mall.
Yeah, I remember. I remember. I saw you there a couple of times. Yeah. You had your own little kiosk.
Yeah. First I was at South Shore Mall outside Capitry Corners, and I did open an art gallery for 3 years. And I have pictures in here if you want to see. There's pictures of my gallery here. My Uncle Joe made me to look at these. These are the inside of the gallery. I have some very nice pieces.
Captree Corners.
Captree Corners, yeah. Here's me with my display in South Shore Mall. That's my card. That's kind of nice to...
I'm looking for Ralph Edwards, Judy. This is your life.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. This feels like this is my life. This is my life as an artist. Beyond raising children and being married and keeping a home and everything else. But it's kind of fun to do this.
Did you ever think you could do anything else? I mean, did you feel like you had to make the artwork to support yourself, or?
Well, we needed the money, and I guess I got into it. One girl, I remember after I left that school up there with Leo Manzo said, "Oh, you're prostituting yourself." And I kind of agreed with her at one point, but it didn't matter. I had to do something.
This was something you loved.
Turned out pretty good. Because I got the opportunity, as terrified as I was, and I didn't have a lot of confidence, but being forced to look confident when you're talking to people. When you go to their homes, I remember going to one of the doctor's houses, or somebody's house about it, but most of the time they came to me. A lot of good work I did get from Huntington Mall. I worked alongside a lot of good artists. In those days, back in the 70s and the 80s, it was all art. There was no crafts. And we had like a caricaturist, we had a couple of watercolorists, we had 12 portrait artists. One of them was Alex Fournier. I used to watch him work. I learned a lot from him. Andre Boucher. Yeah. And there were some good experiences.
Oh, I remember him. He died at 59 years old.
61.
Or 61.
Yeah, he was working at the mall in Hicksville.
Who told you that you were prostituting? Was that an
Oh, it
artist?
was one of the students.
Was that an artist?
Yeah, because that's what artists say when you're doing something commercial. We get this stuff going on.
What a stupid thing to say.
It really didn't. I remember it very well, and I was concerned about it, but at the same time, you know.
Should have told her to go the other way.
Well, you know, it's true, but at that time, what did I know? And of course, when you're a very dedicated artist.
I did a lot of outdoor shows, and I used to tell people that I work the streets. And I always like to give them that, you know, because they're degrading, you know, and I use it as a humorous, you know, they're caught off guard. Yeah.
Well, then illustrators are prostitutes. So's
Who's in
They're probably the worst.
A lot of artists that make money.
I hate
With
that
a
word
silly comma.
illustrator.
But you know, when you go to art school, you become very dedicated and you can become very.
If you can.
Woman rock woman.
But you're working for a paycheck.
You're almost like raised, you know, the fine arts and the illustrative art were very separated, and there were these critics,
Yeah, I know.
Ta-ta, who
Yeah.
said, oh, Norman Rockwell, he's
exactly.
not a real
Illustrator.
artist. Well,
Yeah.
look how things
Yeah,
have
exactly.
changed.
Yeah.
Okay?
Leroy Neiman, you know, he's an
He
illustrator.
just started.
So,
He gets millions of dollars for his work, so, you know, that illustrated thing is a bad rap, I think.
yeah,
It
it's
is.
just very opinionated. It's like I've gone through a lot of teachers.
Yeah.
I must have had 20 teachers. And they all had an opinion, especially David LaFell. Never use a line when you're painting. Oh my God. I fight against that all the time because I see line and Mary Cassatt, Degas, and yeah, what's her name, Alice Neal, so many artists, and I like to use line myself.
Yeah.
So,
You can use anything today.
but that's what they do, and you know, when they're teaching too, they develop a certain method in a certain way, and I suppose you need to do that sometimes. You have to set down some basics to give the people you're teaching a direction. But in the meantime, I always heard the thing too that I always held on to, and that rules are always made to be broken.
If it makes the piece a good piece, use it. You know?
But if you know, on the other hand, if you don't know what the tradition, not necessarily rules, because I don't really like that concept, but traditional art was done a certain way, and you're studying traditional art, you should know those rules and parameters before you break them. Otherwise, it looks like schlock.
Yeah,
You
no.
know, it just, so you have to kind of learn it, and then you can ignore it. I mean, my mentor told me, okay, now you got your little piece of paper, and you got 10 paintings, you know, under your belt, and just paint for 10 years, and you might be where you want to be in 10 years. Like, you couldn't have saved me the $40,000? Told me that first, instead of last, you know.
I read that,
Learn the rules and then you can break them.
used to paint pictures of vases of flowers and sell them on the streets.
Is
So
that
that
right?
he could make money in order to paint.
See, that statement I made really
Yeah.
You do what you have to.
provoked a lot of people here to get upset about that.
That's
We
not
did
cliche.
that.
So after I left the school, I also during that time joined the co-op, the Northport BJ Spoke Gallery. It was in Northport and then moved over to Huntington and is now called the BJ Spoke Gallery. And during that time, I did a portrait, nobody can see it, of Arvell Shaw, right here. It's a large portrait. Here's the portrait here. And I got a write-up by Helen Harrison. See the size of that. Here's Arvell. I went to his house. But I also, he was affiliated with Sonny's Place. I remember Sonny's Place in Seaford. But this was the BJ's Northport Gallery in Northport. And it was presented at Hofstra, and I have some, I just came across it, here it is. Because Arvell had a child who was, only one daughter, who was autistic, so autistic that when the guys would come and they'd play music, she just kind of rocked. She was totally out of it. So this was what it was called, Group Homes, and this was the tribute. And he's recently passed away. I met his wife, but that was kind of a little bit of a milestone, you know. He had jazz, and I saved all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
You're a saver.
Yeah, I am a saver, I am.
We all are.
Yeah, sure.
Judith, pass them around.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I have to put these, I saved them, but I really need to make a scrapbook. Yes. Yeah. Oh, and here is the pictures of the gallery that I was in. So yes, this is your life, Judy Davidson.
That's what we're here for, we want to hear about it.
Yeah.
What motivates you and what, you know.
Well, I had to get away from them all sometimes to do my own thing.
Did you, when you say do your own thing, was that also portraits?
Can we see some of that stuff?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think because, yeah, here's me. at Sunrise, Central Mall, when I had dark hair. My little trade, I think Bill made me that.
I can still remember you sitting there,
Yeah.
and I was walking
On the
by, and
other
I was
Doing kids,
Yep.
doing babies,
How do you like doing babies?
jingling the toy on a 2-year-old, you know, and doing the kids in
I
the
had fun
shopping
doing
cart.
that. It was fun though, wasn't it? You do kids?
I remember watching you in the South Shore Mall, Judy. I remember watching you doing, paint, doing pastel of someone, and I was sitting there and I was fascinated because I never liked to do. I couldn't do really people, but you just had such a focus. It was amazing. Yeah, and you like all the world was out here, and you would just laser. Yeah, it's a laser beam.
Terry knows what I'm talking about. But I was under a lot of pressure. I think one of the things that life drawing class I just say was it made you work fast. And you had to work fast. Then I had to be with Andre, who did a portrait in 30 minutes. 30 minutes Andre did a portrait. Alex did it in an hour.
In pastel?
In pastel.
Wow.
So I never quite made it to that. But I had a couple of jobs that I really did enjoy. Once I remember going to see the Picasso show, and I guess it was 83 at the Metropolitan Museum of Modern Art. I came home so inspired that and one redhead came up to me, she worked there, and I said, would you sit for a portrait? I did that portrait, it came out so good because I was just so charged up.
But your line work was very spontaneous.
I guess.
Yeah.
You know what? Just like a lot of our experiences in art, sometimes my mother said, I don't know how I did it. You did it. It was that moment. It was that time. For whatever reason that was, and you did it.
But you also had a talent that a lot of people don't have. And in the 70s, when you couldn't reproduce art like you can now with your clay and all that stuff, it was originals that were, that was something they really prized. And you could do that. And, back
then when I did the arches, they didn't do Gillette.
You should play.
Andy Statsky was a watercolorist that was. He sold pretty well. Watercolor sold pretty well. He said scenes and stuff. I think he sold his watercolors for about $125.
It's also very quick.
For that venue. Alex used to walk out of here, I'm sure, with $700 in his pocket. And a girl on his arm. He was funny.
They love the artist.
He was
Do
funny.
you do other things besides portraits, though? Or have you always
No, somebody comes to me and says, I want you to do a scene in Italy with my mother and father in the sky, and my wife down there, or I want you to do 2 little children in the woods. I used to do things. And when I studied with Harry, I've done landscapes and stuff like that. And when I did murals, there were a couple murals in there. I did.
Judith, the 60s theme that you had given me, that you won.
Oh, that was another occasion, yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah,
Tell
that was
the
in
people about
South
that.
Sunrise Mall,
Right.
and I think that was 82. And because, see, in those days, the mall was looking to, that was the public relations. Like before I was in South Shore Mall, it was, have you ever heard of Frank and Eddie Marshall? And Mario Grimaldi?
Oh, yeah, Mario.
artists.
He was good.
He was good, and Frank was good. In fact,
Well, it was good if you like that.
Frank
Yeah, well, in his medium, he mastered it.
Frank did I look at his stuff now that I've
Frank
said.
Marshall?
Frank Marshall did all these beautiful drawings.
Yeah, he was a
Come on, he was good. And naturally, let's see, I know I have others, so I don't know exactly where they are. This is the next one. See, this is my ad for Artists View Gallery. When I look at this, I didn't think I did that much, but here's some of my murals here. I did this in a woman's, I know it was working very cheap. Chinese, because I once upon a time was interested in interior decoration. Oh, and when I studied at the Arts Institute, we have Peter Falk's signature. I worked with Peter Falk at Gusta Great Burgers. Yeah. And he's an amazing artist.
You didn't get the raincoat?
Yeah, this was after he did Columbo. I was in a sketch class, and it took me two or 3 days to get up enough nerve. But that was Peter's. I had to save it!
Signature?
Yeah. But he was an amazing, constant working. I have a book with artists, actors as artists, and he was very good at drawing.
Did he have one eye at that time?
Yeah,
Maybe he had one
he
eye.
always had one eye, yeah. And that didn't bother him. But you know what got me about him is I would always look forward to the break. It's like a rest. He never stopped. He just kept going. He never stopped.
No.
So, after doing the mall, and then after that, after I got out of the mall, because everything was changing, life changes. And they shifted me around at Sunrise, and I started working out of stores, and I started working with a lot of Muslims were running art galleries. People that were from Afghanistan, that went over the mountains of Pakistan, and came over to this country, and they all opened. I don't know if you noticed it, 15 years ago, we had a lot of art, little art galleries selling art. A lot were run by this whole bunch of people. They were all family, because I met their families. I met one in Hicksville. Anyhow, Sitar was very nice. His wife was very nice. He always shared his food with me. And so I did that for a while, and I realized things would change. And I didn't want to do it anymore, so I kind of went back to the art shows temporarily, and then I gradually got back into wanting just to paint for the sake of art. And now I feel like this is the best time of my life. Because now I'm finally doing what I probably wanted to do when I was 22 years old.
You're also giving back, you're teaching, which is good.
And teaching, yeah.
And I love your class.
Thank
If
you.
you want to go to a class, I'm telling you, on Fridays, it's amazing. And everyone does their own thing, there's no rules, and it's a great...
We have a live
yeah.
model.
And
But I also teach a
And it's only
Wagner.
$7, $8 for 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
But the teaching also gives me,
It's in Lindenhurst.
they give to me as well,
It's worth the trip though.
what happens when they work.
You and Phyllis
It
George
is now.
taught me color. You taught, I never knew about complementary color. I never went to art school. You guys taught me complementary color. I use it every day now. And I never knew, I was always graying the color down. And when I went to your class with with Phyllis, you taught me that. And that's something I'll always have, and I love you for it, really.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the camaraderie of my fellow artists I work with, because I was going to the Art League for 6 or 7 years. I was co-monitoring that class with Don Morat. After Diana DeSantis started it, I loved that camaraderie there. And entering competitions and belonging to the Suburban Art League. I won an award of excellence starting at 1990, because Freddie, you were winning a lot of awards there too. I guess for 9, 10 years in a row. Every year I'd win an award of excellence. So that to me, it was always a compliment when someone would say, I want you to paint my children, I want you to paint my husband and I. It was always a compliment. But nothing helps me feel more like saying that I've been successcussal is having my fellow artists, say that they admire. Yeah, my peers. Right. Because I was talking, there's a fellow, Brian, he lives just 2 blocks away from me on Lido Parkway, and he's 58 years old, and he's just like, he's been a responsible guy, and he does marvelous work. And he says, he wants to make money, and he wants, how is success measured? And I finally found something to tell him. If you're happy with what you do, and you have your fellow artists say, that is beautiful. And I think that's successful. Measure it monetarily, measure it monetarily, I think.
That's false.
Doesn't work. That's what else can I say? I mean, it's great that you get paid. It would be great to make a ton of money. you know, but.
Money helps, but the recognition and the respect really means a lot, because that's what you try, that's what you do all your life, and you want people to really respect it and like it, and that's.
And recognize. There's another word I was thinking of. All artists want to be recognized, and they all deserve it. They all deserve to be recognized. So that, at this point, is where I'm at. And like, I'm experimenting more now. I can't say, like, these are works in progress. This one, Mario, I'm still fiddling with this. Mario's portrait. I got the biggest kick out of painting Mario. That little smirky, that little sign. But when you're relating to people.
Judith, do you want to put it up on the easel so people could see it?
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
Oh, Jerry.
What did I do?
I'm thinking of the poor lady.
Oh, by the way, that won a Best in Show last year at the Huntington Arts. My self-portrait show.
Tell us about that one.
Yeah, what motivated you?
Yeah. It's very different from your others.
Well, I like to do collages, and I was doing some stamp art. So I did this thing, I love faces, I have all sorts of faces. So I was playing around with collages and stamp art, and I saw that, and then I thought of this, this is called Inside. So I like to play with geometric shapes.
What medium was that, Judith?
So this is acrylic.
Okay.
So I had a photograph, and or actually I might have done it from a combination photograph and from life, and then I designed it first.
Are those shapes?
I designed it first. It's not like I just started painting it. I designed it first on a small thing.
Well, those colors, yeah.
And those colors, and I did it in another color scheme too. See, that's what, like, with Harry's. Because these are different color schemes down here. These are, the two are the same. And I would like to point this out to you. But look what happens when you change the values and you change the colors. This the same thing, but it's different. So when you change the colors like this, I could change the color different colors, and then it became something different.
You relate to it differently.
Yeah. So I find that fun. And this fellow Rasan, he's modeled for us. Sometimes I fiddle around with things years later. I found out I'm not alone. Who was I reading about the other day? Some good artist. And he goes back and fiddles around with it years later because you're never satisfied. Diana DeSantis talks about that, throw it out. But sometimes I'll go back to something, and because I'm objective, this is my thing lately. I get so involved that I can't, I just focus on all the little pieces. Maybe I do that in my daily life, but when I get away from it and I put it in the corner, I haven't seen it in 2 weeks, I go back there, that's
fresh.
Fresh eye, and also a detachment.
You have to squint and turn it upside down.
Phyllis George says new eyes. You gotta give things new eyes.
So you dabble between pastel and acrylic. I don't know if you work with oil anymore, but this is a pastel.
You know, I have oils.
That's pastel.
Well, you know what? I mean, how much can you do? Mostly now, the past couple of years, it's been acrylic, and I love the medium. I'm not afraid of it. I used to be afraid of oils. I love oil because you can, it's very juicy. And you can, but with the acrylic, if I want to change it quickly,
you could do it right away.
I can do it right away, and I don't have to worry about like with oils. I remember one oil painting I did in class. Damn thing, a year later, flaked all over because you have to worry about your mediums and what's on top of the other. If it's wet, I saw Norman Rockwell. He did in Washington D.C. He did the 3 astronauts, Grissom, White. It's all cracked. What a shame! Beautifully done. All cracked, and it wasn't even 25 years old yet.
Yeah.
Why was that?
Why? Because Norman wasn't concerned about archivables or whatever. He just.
Oh, you only work by Saturday night.
Yeah.
It's one you can't put on the other. Which way is it? Oil on acrylic?
Or you cannot put acrylic on oil. You can put oil on
The other way.
acrylic. With oils, different colors dry differently.
It's plastic.
So if you're starting to put a color that dries quicker on top of Alla prima is really the best way to paint. I don't know, Larry could probably tell you more about it. I almost didn't want to go there sometimes because I knew I wasn't that, I studied with LaFell, and LaFell always just uses Maragé and all that other stuff and all that rigmarole with mediums. I don't want to even go near mediums. Water, acrylics, that's it. The only problem with acrylics though is it dries darker, the shade darker, so that's a little bit tricky sometimes.
You ever try
That's why I
watercolor?
love pastel.
Judy, is that acrylic and chalk? And
Yeah, I
everything
put
like that?
pastel, you know what, I almost like the effect, but the thing is I want the durability of the oil. I can't do this with an oil painting, but I can do that with, it's amazing, you can scratch that on. It's a
Easy
sturdy
on my
medium.
Mario looks high there.
Did you give him a choice?
I'll just feel around with it a little bit more.
Yeah, a little anisette. That's what he said about it.
And same thing with varnishing, like I don't know if I varnished this yet, or I might have done a little bit. Once you varnish, then the paint on top of the varnish, no.
Yeah,
That's as all as I know. I am not an expert on archival. I did have a friend who worked for the top museums. He was wonderful, but I don't know about archival. All I know is I try to work with acid-free boards or even pastel paper, and even the matting. It would be nice if that were acid-free, because I've had a lot of mats now that are 30, 40 years old, and they're starting to turn orange. I don't think that's good either. So that's about it. I mean, I got pictures, tons of pictures in here. Here's a thing that I did early, like when I was studying up at Great Neck, that was after Harry. Let's see, what is this? Oh no, this is Northport Gallery, there's my name. That was Northport Gallery. But I was also going up to Great Neck, and in Great Neck we had a show or two there, and that's when I studied with Charles Side, and then I studied with Victor Candel, and he was an abstract painter, and I remember some of the things he told me. What he did was, one time he brought a girl in that had cerebral palsy, and she was like this.
Wow.
And it was amazingly interesting, inspiring. I loved it. To be able to take that line and twist it and it teaches you how to express. Instead of, a lot of the traditional art is very, beautiful, like almost like ballet, But then I like the gutsier stuff. I like Rachmaninoff. I like the little dirtiness, a little bit of drama, Let's stir it up a little, So that was kind of interest, although I don't think I was hugely successful in his class. And then with Leo, I used to leave depressed from Leo's class. It was marvelous. This place in Great Neck was called the Artists of America School. They had women that were on Madison Avenue. Florence Hassenfeld, she used to combine flowers with the kind of abstract background. She used to sell her paintings like crazy.
That was a very rich area too. Great Neck is big
Well,
bucks.
I suspect these women had husbands on Wall Street
of course.
because it was a store.
Yeah.
And they hired Jerry Okamoto, who I remember this big canvas. I don't know if this means anything. He just turned the canvas around. The back of the canvas was like an abstract painting. It was all braces. And he was very successful. There were many, many artists.
Yeah.
And especially, the North Shore and the South Shore are like two different worlds when it comes to art.
Yes, they are.
You go to North Shore, everything is abstract, unobjective.
Money.
Yeah, but the kind of art, that's what's still on Madison Avenue. Come on the South Shore, it's more traditional.
But you can't say, there's nobody really buys paintings on the South Shore. Unless you go out to the Hamptons. It's really hard to sell paintings here on the South Shore. You go to the North Shore, in galleries, they buy, and they have the money. They have the bucks, they really do, it's amazing.
Like Chrysalis Gallery now out there, a couple people I know about. Joe Bucci's out there, and I
Larry,
was with that.
you're in there.
Larry, you're in it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. They're a little bit more traditional people coming in.
They will take watercolor. She won't take watercolor.
I'm not kidding.
No. I asked. She won't take it.
Nothing
She won't take
anywhere.
pastel.
Nothing in class.
Probably she doesn't like work on the glass.
Yeah, nothing in class. She won't take anything in class.
When did you start focusing on portraits?
Yes.
Who's like doing portraits? Because I did my grandfather's, I remember sketching my friend when I was like 12 or 13. And again, when I was doing the work from the magazines, like the weekend magazines, there were always faces. And I remember even in high school, I did all the posters. And it was a portrait of Marilyn Monroe saying, "Marilyn says vote for me."
Big Crosby.
And I looked, my friend happened to save these posters and she gave to me a couple of years ago, I guess about 10 years ago. I looked at it and I said, wow. I thought I was good, but I was like everybody else. I was like everybody else, yeah. In fact, you know, well, this little thing here, I think I did that when I was 19 and 20, just so I could work. That was a simple little thing.
Wow.
It's nice, but...
Again, the question, why did you focus on portraits? Because probably that was making you money. People wanted to see themselves in a portrait at the South Shore Mall.
You know what, I never really, you were asking me a question that's very interesting because I never really asked myself that question.
Why do you
But
concentrate
knowing
on portraits?
myself a little more now, I think it's because I love people. I mean, when I see each person in here.
You're a very good teacher, though. You teach very well, so, you know.
It's a life inside.
And the older I get, the more I realize I may not be the most religious person in the world, but I know when we connect, that's a beautiful thing, and that makes me feel close to God. So maybe doing the portraits, because it is a relationship when you're doing a person's face. You're looking at them and you're talking.
You see character when you're looking at people.
Wow, you're not saying much, I know.
And you have a sense of humor too.
I have a sense of humor.
Yeah, that's why.
Nice to hear.
That's why.
I remember
you're
recently
successful.
talking with
The
somebody
serious
that did
side of
Wait, I was
landscapes.
the two guys at the same time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'd love to hear what you both have
Oh,
to
it's
say.
just
yeah.
somebody that does landscapes, and I'm starting taking photographs. And whenever I take a photograph of a scene, I always try to get a person in the picture. And I was complaining, people are in the way. Well, I mean, you know, I'm trying to get the person, somebody else saying, they was trying to take pictures of the landscape, and these people keep getting in the way. It's total reverse of what I like.
I love landscapes though, when there's a person in it. Yeah,
That's
going
what
up
I'm
the
saying.
walk, yeah. Yeah, Mike?
I evolved from doing old people to young people. And then I got to enjoy the young people more than ever the old. The old people are always supposed to have this character. Put character in a 6-month-old baby or a year-old baby. And I learned to master it. And I had more fun. Actually had fun out in the sidewalk because I had total control of the whole area. And I had this guy working next to me for 10 years. And what was that, a state fair. And he was doing wood carving and I was doing my portraits. And we had a big tent, and the company we had was ducks and lambs and it smelled in it. But Mary and I, yeah, we had a relationship with the people there.
And that's what makes life worth living. One of the things, yeah.
Judy, how long did you do the portraits in the mall? How many years?
I spent 7, 8 years at South Shore Mall. And actually I had been doing the art shows before then. I started doing the art shows. And then I was tired of running from Huntington to Staten Island, to Kings Plaza, to Green Egg, what is it, that Green Egg?
Green Egg.
And it was 12-hour days. So when I had heard about South Shore Mall, and they were looking for an artist, but again, to bring in, this is public relations, that I kind of went for, I said, I want to stay in one place. And then after that, that's how come I got, when they came back to Corners, you know, we're building, and I said, gee, my daughter had graduated from high school, and I said, oh, my daughter can run the gallery, and I'll sit outside and do portraits. Well, 6 months later, she says, I'm getting married. And she was a born-again Christian. And I said, oh yeah, what are you going to do about birth control? Oh, we don't believe in birth control. Oh, that was the end of that. So I ended up, my uncle, he helped me a lot with the gallery. He was kind of pleased with me there, my uncle. That's another story. But I got two girls, Pat, Cecilio, who lives out in Sayville. They were wonderful. They handled things better than I could have, because we had custom framing. They knew just how to get a customer in there and say, "What? This isn't right," and she would just be calm and Carol, very sweetly calm over the woods and work things out. So her and my sister were great. I ran that thing until 3 years, and I guess they broke even. It was fun. We went to 225 building in New York City and bought stuff. I still have some stuff left, to be honest. We had some great stuff. We had a James Balmer, and we had a painting, a couple of paintings there that were really good. But mostly what sold were Norman Rockwell, little $25 prints, and a couple of etchings. We had some nice etchings. I really did enjoy buying work, and we did have an H.G. Rothe, R-O-T-H-E. She was represented in the Hammer Galleries in New York City. So when that didn't sell, it was called the Homecoming. This was a mezzotint, very large. It had it beautifully framed. And that didn't sell, so when I got out of the gallery, I advertised an American artist. Guy came over from California and paid me $1,000 for it. So yeah, because that's the investment art. I never got into that, you know, the Leroy Neiman's and all that stuff, or the Salvador Dali's. You know, it's a very, very diverse world as far as, you know, how to make money and stuff. And I still don't
Now they
know
sell
that.
on cruises.
Huh?
Now they have
Yeah, so I heard.
I met Salvador Dali.
You did?
You see it, he was doing a promotion. And I gave him a picture of my wife and he signed the back.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I shook hands with him. And he had that
She told
oscillate
us on
on
the
the
front.
shoulder.
Who?
That oscillate.
I had a tape
On the
of
shoulder.
Salvador Dali. It was the weirdest.
He would. You should see his house. I was to his house in Spain, and he lives on the Costa del Sol, and Costa Brava actually, and it's all. It looks like a clown's house. I mean, it's
Really?
it's bizarre. It looks like he paints exactly like he paints. Yeah, he's got balls and things going here and
But his
everything.
paintings,
Yeah,
some of
it's
them
bizarre.
are amazing. Oh, I love them.
Oh, yeah.
They're amazingly
I learned stuff I don't know he
colorful.
did.
Oh,
Speaking of where you've been, I just came from Rome.
Fine detail.
And I just saw my Sistine Chapel and everything.
Oh yeah,
wow.
that's amazing.
Because they have restored a lot of that too.
Yeah, I saw it in '87. It was
I can have it
before it was
snowed
restored.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a
Worth millions of
revelation.
dollars.
It's amazing.
To see if it's
Today, or they stole it yesterday.
Really?
Did you finish talking about that painting with the rectangles of color and that?
Yeah.
You really finished talking about it.
Double.
Oh, okay.
I think I got it a box.
Well, actually, if you think about it, the colors in there and the colors in there are similar, aren't they?
Now that's all painting, that's not collage, that's not
Well,
mat board or anything.
No, this is on a canvas, although I like to paint on board. But you know, I did learn from painting with some of those people when we did Dave Kemper, that you use tape.
Right.
And then this way you get your straight lines, although I don't think these are perfectly straight. But again, it also has to do with color relationships. If you squint, these colors are almost the same value. And I have the dark, and then this one's a little darker. It's the design. Really, it's the design and the scale. One of the things I learned with Leo Manzo was scale. He used to talk about scale.
Did you do the portrait, then the design, or the design and the portrait?
Design first.
Which came first?
Design first. I wish I had brought in the little thing that I had done, because I actually made 2 cards. Show it to next time I see you. 2 cards I made, and then I said, I'm putting my face in there. And then it took me a while to say, I wanted to, because it has to do with within me. I'm kind of a person sometimes where everybody is, I guess. We all have our inside.
It's a simply 5 by 7 area, right? Looks like a 5 by 7
I never
area.
measured it, to be honest with you. I never measured this to be a
And how you
5 by
came up
7.
with that?
I was mostly concerned with the design. Design to me and composition. Design. The the design of the negative space, and the design of this. It all is abstract, okay? The design of this.
Yeah.
The design of her dress. This, the design. It's actually a small one. I made a big one of this, and it's in the show. Did you see?
Yes,
In the show, the big one. But this one's really better paint.
Yeah.
I always did better smaller. You know what? Because I'm just afraid. That's what they're painting. You know?
Come on, tell them what.
How big is the bigger one?
Yeah, I think it's 24 by 30.
Yeah,
Also horizontal format?
It's in your,
Horizontal.
did you ever thinking about the size of your stripes and the direction of them?
Isn't that picture there right of
Or is it just?
Well, you know what?
place them
Because
around?
when you play with collage,
Over there.
you use your intuition
Okay.
and your sixth sense.
I didn't think about it.
I didn't formally, I played. And with collage you play. I mean, I got some collages as I was pulling out this stuff, and I threw some of them away. Because some of them aren't as strong as others. Even that tree, I tried to collage it. Is there any collages here? I wasn't very successful with that.
You took out your stripes and you moved them around until you
Well,
got.
I was playing with colored paper.
Yeah.
And I was
Okay.
very simple, because if you look at Ed Reinhardt, if you look at Morris Lewis, if you look at a lot of those other artists, they're really just big fields. Very simple, and again, it's scale. It's how big something is and how small something is. That kind of gives it the power. Something very tiny versus very large. I'm still amazed. I like Edgar Payne. I love his paintings. Anybody know about Edgar Payne? I was just looking at his work. He was in this past issue of
Oh my God.
His mountains are so majestic.
I want to get one of his books. Oh, his work.
Yeah, or they do. I'd love to see it.
Oh,
What artist?
They sell them. Edgar Payne, yes.
I love the backlit portrait. Was that from life?
The backlit?
Yeah.
No, I took that picture.
I love the way you
And I
pulled
had about
down.
6 shots of her, and I wanted to do it. And that's what I played with, was the backlighting
That's what
and
you
the
do.
color.
I love the way you cooled the flesh tones.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, that's good to hear.
All the values in the shadow when you can see it.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't make
I'm
mud.
afraid it's still a little too dark, but,
That is nice.
you know, thank you.
Grade down, you grade that down. So
Yeah, I'm almost, hey, let me ask you, I'm almost like getting tempted to take this out. But then I think I should leave it in, because it gives it a feeling of distance, yes?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that's it, I guess.
Yeah, no.
What?
Now, do you have a
This
room,
one
do
is
you have a
so
room?
easy.
Do you have a room in your house
Easy
that
to
you
find.
keep all this stuff in?
Yeah, that's Paul's wife.
That's Paul Padanado's
It's amazing,
wife.
I'm not divorced from my husband, fortunately, he's so patient with me.
Just that looks so much
But
fun.
I still think Harry started it all, because you look at how he simplifies form and shape into all the, and he shows you what happens. And the same thing in portraiture. Like, this is the same idea. It's how big something is, how small something is, how wide something is. I mean, even a painting like that. How that tree is where it is against that one shape there, with the dark shape next to it. It's all abstract. Yeah? Yeah?
Something has to
It's what you don't think about though.
This guy amazes me though. He gets all these stuff in there and he puts it together and he builds it, you know, and he has a sixth sense, or he has experience, because he's been painting all the time. Just like I have, you know. Thank you
just
very much.
recently, Judy, you just recently started using the Creative Edge, 12 by 12. Just started using the Creative Edge, where you paint the edge, you don't need a frame.
Creative Edge.
You painted the edges of the canvas.
Gallery wrap canvas.
Gallery wrap.
Oh, God.
The gallery wrap, where you paint the edge.
I do like it. It's expensive. Let me see, just what I got here.
Those are 12 by 12.
Price means something to me. I'm not, yeah, here, this is, yeah, but I have others that are nice. I do like to see what my idea is. I had it at the show. I had 6 portraits
Where's the
all put
Adrian?
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
I
art
have to learn
Adrian.
how to use it.
And I wanted to put them all together. And then I like an installation, and then I could switch around and play around with them, depending on the color. I have 3 or 4 other squares in my studio, just red, pink, yellow, blue. So I'm just gonna start. It's just strictly heads.
Yeah, I just keep them handy, because you never know when you're gonna need something like
That's
that.
right.
So I keep
That's right.
4x4s, 5x5s, 6x6s,
Connecticut.
8x8, and 12x12s.
Okay.
Just available.
And where are you getting yours?
At AC Moore or Michael's.
I'm just very fussy about the type of,
What do you use for acrylic? Does it make any difference what canvas you use?
well, yeah, I won't touch the canvas from Artist Loft or whatever that thing is, they mark.
No, he needs,
Michael's.
Windsor Newton or Gravaca.
No, I meant when you use, I don't do acrylic, so does it make any difference? Can you use the same type of canvas that you use for oils? Does it make-
Oh, yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. I sometimes, because I haven't perfected it exactly, but I do appreciate quality, because my grandfather was a carpenter. I used to watch him.
So what are you
And he
looking
was
for in
German.
quality?
And something that lasts. I like things that
How
last.
do you know what's gonna last and what isn't?
What? I have a drawing of my son, who is now passed. I did a drawing of him in profile when he was 11. It's now turning all yellow. Okay? I mean, maybe nobody cares, but I care.
That it's gonna do that or won't do that? How do you choose?
Well, I don't know, the weave in the back is tight. Sometimes I look at some of the
Are those
canvas
linen?
they have.
Is that linen?
No, that's where I have to do more research, because a lot of the art, I mean, if you look at, I'm reading on some of these artists, and they're working really tough. Okay, maybe Terry knows about this. They're working on board, working on metal, and masonite and wood, with they're gluing the canvas on there, or they're even gesso, layers and layers of gesso, so that board is so rigid, because, acrylic, canvas moves.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I like the acrylic, though, it's durable, So, I would like to paint on board. The only thing is, nice thing about canvas is it's light.
Judy, did you frame that yourself?
It's not framed.
It's not framed.
You know what I mean?
You buy it that
Oh,
way.
you buy it that way.
You know what? I've never stretched canvas and I've never cut.
Leave that to somebody else.
You cut your own mess.
You know, it's funny, at the Pastel Society,
Get what you paid for, right, Jeff?
Richard
It's
McKinley
true.
was giving a talk
Yeah.
about, and he was pointing out that you never do purple in portraits as background.
Yeah.
Oh,
And he was pointing one out,
It had
and he
purple
said
background.
that had a purple background. He said, see, you can break rules and it can work. And I'm just looking to have your purple
it's a red
background.
purple, but I've seen you use even, like the purple she's got on. Like that. I've seen that in your
I do that.
I think it's fun.
Yeah, I like that color.
Well, who said that? It's like the guy that said you're prostituting yourself. What
This
is
is,
No, he was just talking about rules and how rules can be
Pastel
broken.
Society.
So-
I still bothers me with the spell, and
That was a
well,
great show, by the way.
every still life is eye level line. And here I have a still life where you're looking down, and I think my objects are moving up and away. And David LaFell has produced 30 clones, and they're very good. They're very good painters, but I want to be me. I want to make something that somebody else can't do, or almost anyhow. Probably. It's like, to be honest with you, I started this idea with the heads. And I said, oh, this will be like an installation. And I found out that there were like 8 other artists that were doing the same thing. Rose Franson, she had a show in Washington, D.C., marvelous. She just, okay, you're going to sit for me? Took me an hour to did her. It would be almost like what I was doing at the mall, where you do portraits very quickly. And she had the whole show, like with these small portraits, group portraits, or some other guy. I'd get a couple of them. But I love it. I don't care if a couple of other people do it.
I saw one in the city of about 12 small paintings, 8 by 8s maybe, just black and whites.
That must have been
did.
Yeah. Well, the people were not pretty, they were, they looked sick. Yeah, they looked, there was black, black and whites and grays, but
Take it, yeah, two of you.
they weren't.
They didn't have personalities, huh?
Miss Anderson, you want to tell me something when I didn't let you say anything?
Okay.
Okay, I guess go
They
there.
We're not letting it go.
Yeah.
You keep saying, well, I'm all done, and you keep asking.
Oh, that's what it's about, you keep things out.
Anybody watch Revenge?
Oh, yes, this is what I used to do before I went to school, was I used to paint plaques on Mason night for my friends, there's an eagle. And that was one of the murals I did from the contemporary house. And, let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, I designed this for my high school. And this was, I was telling you, my daughter and I were going to run the gallery. And this is Donna and me as we opened the gallery up.
So how many children did she have?
She had 5.
How many children?
Here's what I'm talking about when I was in Great Neck, the Cutter Mill group. Great Neck Library, that's, I think I was in there somewhere. Yeah, there he is, here's my name. But that's it. I did the one thing at the Great Neck Library, and that was it. Look at that, I even had other copies. You gotta throw in some of this stuff.
Well, you can't throw it out now. Save it all the years.
I mean, I kept it in here, and this is the Provincetown workshop. Provincetown workshop, where Leo would teach painting with Victor Candell. And this was in Provincetown, 1971.
Wow.
Provincetown.
Leo Manzo, Victor Candell.
Right.
Well, I haven't even looked at this in 30, 40 years. Because you guys are making me stop and look. But also, this became quite a place. It still is in Provincetown. You can still study art there. So I think I've had a full life. And I hope it continues a little longer.
Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.